Okay, folks, we're back. We now have all our parts to install the Hurst shifter into our 1970 Dodge Dart Swinger 340 car. So I want to start this out by saying this shifter installation it's the same type of installation that you would put in your GM or Ford 60s, early 70s muscle car. Very almost identical, the same. The rods are going to be different and locations obviously, but this pertains to any Chevy, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Mustang, Cougar, Fairlane, Roadrunner, Cuda, whatever. So we've got our parts now, and before I get started, I want to share a few things here first. These are the rods that were on our shifter here, and these of course are the levers. I took pictures of their orientation before I removed the rods for reference. Now, I took these off, and I want to start by saying when you install one of these, you don't want to use, it will work, but when you use just regular cotter keys and not the right washers, this is the right washer, but I bought knee washers here and the inserts. If you don't use the right hardware, when you install one of these shifters, it's gonna be sloppy as heck, and it's gonna be a very uncomfortable, not very exciting experience when you shift one of these things, because it's gonna be flopping all over the place. This kit, very cheap, came from Brewer Performance. They're a Mopar manual transmission shop, but you could probably get these from Classic Industries. Classic Industries, I'm almost 99.9% sure they have these for the Muncie, and they also have them for the top loader 4-speed, your Saginaw, and obviously your 833 Mopar 4-speed. These are what you want to use. These are the factory pieces, the factory clips, and the factory inserts before we install these things. So before I even get into installing the rods, also you have your adapter. This is the adapter that's going to locate the shifter in the proper location. So let's come over here and look at the car. Again, this goes with the other makes too. If you come on this side over here, if you see, this is the Boss that has the 3 threaded holes to install the shifter. So obviously I've got to orient this thing, and looks like it most likely goes this way. I'm not sure. Does it go this way? I'm not sure. We're going to look at the manual and see, but obviously it looks like, I would say it may go like this. Let's see. Get in here. Well, nope. So that leg is going to kick down further. So does it go like this? It may do that. So if it goes in here, and does it go in here? Nope, I don't believe it goes that way. So I've got to orient it again. Does it go this way? Let's see. Maybe it does. Let's see. That one goes in there. That one goes in there. Ah, there it goes. So it only goes one way, folks. I'm just going to get these started, and then we're going to walk back over there, and then I'm going to discuss the rod installation. So I'll finish tightening these off camera, but now you see that this is going to line the shifter up where it needs to go, up through the hole in the factory location for a 4-speed car. Very important. These rods, I believe 2 of the rods go through this hole, and I believe 1 of the rods comes down below, but we'll get to that. It may go down this way, but you can see that you don't have a lot of room. So let's go back over here. Now, this is very important, because I've heard of people getting these levers and getting the linkage in the wrong locations, and they would go from maybe first to second. It may be going from first to third or from third to second when they were power shifting. You can really knock some stuff out and really do a lot of damage if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. So we've got our manual here, and it's going to show us, I believe, in a few places here, where these levers go. Now, this is one I'm going to end up studying if it is one of the 4-speed transmissions. You also don't want to get this mixed up with a 3-speed manual transmission. So there was a 3-speed manual and there was a 4-speed manual. I'm going to study all of this, and then we're going to put these levers, because if you come over and look at these levers, we've got some that are shaped a little bit different. You see here, and you see here, and you see this one. This may be a reverse, but we're going to find out. I believe one of these is a lockout. Now here's another thing that the manufacturers did. Chrysler went to a column shift ignition switch on the column in 1970. I want to say that GM and Ford may have gone to that in 69. I'm not sure. However, there's another set of linkage here for it's set up so that you turn the collar on the column. It's like an anti-theft device or a lockout for reverse. We'll get to that later, maybe even in a different video, because I have never done one of those with the reverse lockout or the safety feature. But right now, we're going to get these rods, we're going to study where to put the levers, and then we'll get to the rods. So just... All right, now we've got the shifter in, and Trish and I made the decision. We said, let's install this without all the rods so it's not cumbersome. So we installed the shifter without our rod assemblies. Now, obviously, this is our third, or reverse, I believe. I believe the rod goes down, above, but we're not there yet. We're going to know here pretty quick. However, you got 2 bolts here. I've got one of my small ratchet wrenches on here. Now the shifter does go on like it should with the new adapter on from the factory style adapter. You don't have much room. A lot of cars, you have some, but I have got not much room here. Sometimes you have to come up from the top and get to that one, but as you can see, you don't have much room. You would have to do it slowly but surely with an open end wrench. I've got a shorty ratchet wrench from Snap-on here. Seems to do the job pretty good. So we're going to cinch this thing down, and then we're going to get to the rods. All right, folks. Just before we get ahead of ourselves, just want to make note here on the levers, the selectors. If you note, this one says low. This one says reverse. And this one is direct, meaning I'm sure direct drive. So I would assume that this is first, second. This is third, fourth. It says direct. And obviously this is reverse. So it's good reference so you know where everything is at. So now we're going to put these on. Okay, so Trish has just installed the selector levers here. Now here's what I want to show everybody. You see where this says direct? Up here. This one's hard to see, but it says low. Right here, low. And then down here, you see this one says reverse. Now, if we go to confirm that we've got them all correct, let's come look at the manual. Okay, if you look at the manual, it says reverse rod. Reverse was at the bottom. Third, fourth, which means direct. Fourth gear is always direct. So the long lever went there. First, second is the one that dog legs, and I don't know if you can see it in the camera in our video, but it dog legs to make room for the 3/4 rod. So this is how we confirm where the levers are correct. So now we're going to move on with installing the shifter. We just installed blue Loctite, which is your Loctite 242 right here onto the threads, just for some added security. So now we'll install the shifter. There's only 2 bolts for that shifter to orient. So if you look, now the 2 bolts here and here are going to locate and bolt down our shifter. Okay, here's a part of the video that we weren't sure we were going to be able to cover or not, because we had to do a lot more investigation. I've never done an interlock on a 4-speed on a 1970, because most of the cars I've had have been 69 and previous. However, looks like we're getting it figured out. This car has a reverse interlock, and like I mentioned before, there's a collar on the column that you have to turn to release the key. And it's like a theft mechanism, I believe, or reverse lockout. But Kevin, our customer, he bought all the components, and I think then some. So we think we're getting the interlock linkage figured out. So Trish found the actual schematic of the parts that go in here for the interlock. If you see on the column, it looks like an automatic style column, but it does have a lever that comes out that gets activated by the reverse rods. So we're about to install this right here, this bracket that accommodates another, I guess you could say Z-bar, very similar to the Z-bar for the clutch assembly. But this is actually for the interlock. So come along and we'll show you right over here. This is where it's going to go in. Now this was an automatic car originally, but it looks like they drilled everything out for that. And this is the tang for the tang, keeps it from rotating. And then there's I had to chase these threads because there was still some residual paint. But this is where this goes. I can line the hole up. There we go. Again, I've never done one of these, so there's a little more linkage involved than just your 3 levers. But we're going to get this tightened down, and there's going to be another bracket that's going to come into the boss on the bell housing, and then we'll show you here in just a second. Okay, now we've got the interlock. I would call it a Z. I don't know what you call it. It's a bracket, but now with both brackets on each side, I did grease this. It goes through a plastic grommet. I greased it on both sides, so it's got nice free movement, but it's not sloppy. So it's getting pretty darn busy under here with the clutch, the Z-bar, but we're gonna have, I believe we've got a rod that comes from here, and it's gonna come up through the column. It's gonna be kind of like what you see with a column shift on a Matic, but that's where we're at. I may have missed it. Oh, I don't think I have actually, but this is the way the diagrams show. So we're making great progress, so stay tuned. We're gonna get back on the rods on the transmission, but it's just a little bit at a time. So more progress on the interlock. Now we're gonna move on with the hopefully the transmission on the rods. If I've got any more pieces on here. The puzzle continues. So now we knew that there was another side to accommodate the little Z-bar for the reverse lockout. We already put this part in, and now we've taken it back out. There's a bushing on each side. It comes with this kit, this bracket, and it has a washer, and it just has a little simple locking pin right there. So we took this back out to install it, but what I want to talk about before you can put this assembly in, there's what appears to be 2 brackets. Now this is all Mopar A-body specific. These manuals try to accommodate A and E body. We do have one of these. Kevin bought this part here. As you can see, that's what this is. However, all it says is 1970 small block. Well, there was no room against the firewall for this to fit. Trish found on the other manual, the other bracket. This is for the A body. This is what goes onto the bell housing. If you come over here and look, That's where this piece here goes into. This is the other side with the bushing that accommodates the little Z-bar for the lockout. So what we're about to do now that we've got that in, tightened down, we're going to try to reinstall the bracket on the other side with the Z-bar that's already got the locking pin. So I know these are little short videos, but I'm trying to get down to the attention to detail. So you guys with the Mopar A bodies are trying to put an interlock system in. If you're like me and you've never done one, I'm doing my best. So all right, now before we put our rods on, this is the little attention to detail. If you look at these washers, I'm going to separate them. You have some that have a smaller ID here, and you have some of the washers have a larger ID. That goes into the rod here, where it goes into the shifter. Obviously, this one is going to get sloppy, right? So these are reverse only washers. And this is a reverse only insert, spacer, whatever you want to call it. You see how tight that is? That fits like it's supposed to. These are for the second, or the third, fourth, first, second. You can see this does not fit like it should. Just the little things to detail, folks. This is what's going to make your shifter make it or break it. All right, folks. Well, we've got all the linkage in now on our 4-speed transmission. We did run into a few issues, but first of all, we did get most of the interlock mechanisms in. This is the again, I don't know if they call this a Z-bar or what, but this will have a rod that comes up from here and it'll go up to the column on the steering column, and it'll have that's the linkage that basically releases reverse and allows it to start, I believe. So per the book, all this is in correctly. This took a bit to figure it out. It was like a puzzle. Now, I don't know that we have the correct rods yet, but what the rods we do have, they're in the Sonic machine cleaning up. This should have a rod that's going to come from here to there's a little hole right there, and that rod is going to go and it is going to connect here some way, somehow. Not sure yet. I'm not sure if it has another lever rod that comes down. I've got to study this. The manual takes me so far, I'm probably going to have to call Brewers. But that being said, now we got the rods, the shifter was mounted, rods on, and everything is adjusted. And here's what we did. Most 4-speed shifters, Hurst shifters, they have a plastic L piece, and it's a pin. And you slide that in, and it puts all these in a parallel plane, your 3 levers for your shifts. And that would be your first to second, your third to fourth, and your reverse right here. Now, this shifter did not have a hole for that pin to go through. So if you look here, all I can see is maybe a slot. So if anyone knows if I'm missing something, I just don't think this has it. But they did go in the side, I put them all in the same plane, and then I had Trish get in the car, and we went through each gear individually, and it looks like pretty much it feels great. And it feels like it's shifting, and everything is going like it's supposed to. First to second, third to fourth. One thing about these old cars about reverse can be very hard to find sometimes on some of these things. You keep hitting first. You have to come all the way over towards your left knee sometimes and then go forward. And then that's your reverse gear. But anyway, that's all connected now. Now, here's something I want to share that's Mopar specific. If you have an 833 4-speed, I've had 2 833 4-speeds come in. One was a 70 Roadrunner and the other one was a 69 GTX, and they had an oil leak. They could not figure out where it was coming from. If you look on the reverse switch on an 833, this is your reverse light switch right here. These things will eventually start leaking out where this plastic is inserted and somehow attached to the metal piece, and it'll literally leak through the middle.
And I've had 2 of those do that now. Now that I think is a new switch, but just food for thought. Any of you guys, you got a leak in the back and you can't figure out where it's coming from and it's hypoid, something like that, check that backup switch. You'll be surprised. Especially an older car, it's been taken care of, but they never changed that switch. That's where it'd be coming from. So I hope everybody got something out of this. Again, the shifting mechanism as far as adjusting your linkage. You get somebody up there and you have them shift the gears. You go through the gears. You watch your levers, and then you take something that you can turn. It's not going to damage the splines, but that you know when it locks in, it's in gear. So we're all there now. So more progress on the 70 Dart. We've got an exhaust system to get ready to start installing, and we also have a dash assembly. We're waiting on a radio to come in. I believe it's a retro radio. Kevin bought a retro radio. It looks like the original. At least on mine, it was a Roll-O-Matic. This one may have had the knobs, but they're really nice radios. Retro sound, I think. So that's got to come in. We got to put that in the dash, and then we'll be sliding the whole dash assembly in. And I think we have everything for the glass, for the door glass. So we're getting closer for my good friend Joe Williams at Just Mopar Joe, for him and his brother Drew to come in and get these side door glasses put in, quarter windows and door windows. So hope everybody got something out of this again. And it's a beautiful day today, and I hope everybody has a good Saturday.